island that has over the centuries inspired and fascinated many a romantic, including adventurers, writers, and artists. There can be few places on Earth that have packed into such a small area such a variety of experiences. Colombo, the busy metropolis with its 5-star hotels and starting point for all tours across the island. Many islanders live off the bounty of the sea and the seemingly never-ending stretches of coconut plantations. The coastal areas south of Colombo offer the tourist a fascinating insight into island life, and in fact, there is no better way to enter into the spirit of the island than to get out and meet the islanders themselves. With more than 70% of the population living off the land, the way of life is simple and unrushed. What is particularly striking are the many smiling faces one encounters along the way. This is a paradise island renowned for the warmth and friendliness of its people. Even in paradise you get thirsty, and I found a friend, Karu, who's offered to go and get me a drink. Just look at him go! He's using every muscle in his body. Beautiful coconut. The home is tutti. I'll always be a coconut child. The scenery along the south coast with its white palm-fringed beaches is breathtaking, and the area is served by several prestigious hotels, each in its own way blending into the surrounding landscape. The Ceysands Hotel at Bentota is itself on an island, lying parallel to the main island, and visitors are escorted across by boat. The adjoining coastal narrows have become a haven for water sports of all kinds, and a large launch offers the visitor a unique experience of seeing the island from a different vantage point. Further down the coast is the Coral Gardens Hotel, an interesting blend of modern Western and ancient Cambodian architecture. The shape of the Cambodian roof offers ample protection from the deluge of warm monsoon rains. There can be few experiences more atmospheric than the build-up prior to a monsoon storm. When you come to Sri Lanka, a visit to the turtle hatchery is a must. Here I am at Ambalangoda on the west coast of Sri Lanka at the Sea Turtle Research Institute. I'm sitting next to the tank of 2-day-old hatchlings. Look at these little chaps. They look like wind-up toys. A short distance southwards from Hikkaduwa is the city of Galle, whereas perhaps nowhere else in Sri Lanka is the evidence of past colonial conquests more visible. Sri Lanka has a fascinating parallel with South Africa, in that it too was colonized first by the Portuguese, the Dutch, and finally the British. The oldest landmark is the massive Portuguese and Dutch fort, in which the central city is contained. Those familiar with Cape Town's old castle will see an uncanny resemblance in the pointed bastions of this fort. Or the original gate of the fort is still in existence, and one is struck by the remarkably clear Dutch East India insignia, VOC, over the gate. Other strong evidence of Dutch presence is this old Dutch church, which stands proudly in the city. Numerous old colonial buildings bear testimony to the British era, and many a tale of colonial decadence remains locked in the crumbling fabric of stately mansions along the coastline. Sri Lanka is a romantic island. So romantic, in fact, that this romanticism rubbed itself off on the British settlers, the Dutch and Portuguese that arrived to colonize this beautiful island. It is well known that this lovely little inlet here in Weligama Bay has a home on it built by British colonials. And in the 1950s and 60s, this beautiful place here was the home of much white mischief. A skill handed down to the Sri Lankans by the Portuguese is the art of lace making. And the speed with which these women work is quite uncanny. It's fascinating. Besides lace, another attraction along the picturesque Weligama coastline is the plentiful fishing. It is here that one can see the famous stick fishermen, precariously balanced in the sea, a position they hold for hours on end. There are, of course, easier ways of getting a share of the tasty fish from this area. From Weligama, the road winds along the west coast to Habarana and the renowned Yala National Park, where a feast of wildlife awaits the visitor. The buffalo in this country spend most of their time wallowing in water, while the Asian elephant has a pigmented trunk, dome-shaped head, and ears shaped like a map of India. This male has particularly large tusks. Sri Lanka is a veritable birdwatcher's paradise. There are over 400 species of birds, ranging from the rare long-tailed jungle robin to the common and exotically colored jungle fowls and peacocks. It is also possible to see a wide variety of waterfowl, including the unusual painted stork. From the rice paddies adjoining the Yala Reserve to the higher tea-growing and scenically breathtaking regions, the landscape takes on a dramatic change. Hill country is tea country, and the higher you go, the better the tea. Some of the finest teas in the world come from this area. We're in the heart of the tea country, 6,000 feet above sea level. And this is what it's all about. 2 leaves and a bud. A sight not to be missed on the way up is a glimpse through the hills of Deetawalla, the well-known prisoner of war camp, where the British held many South Africans during the Anglo-Boer War. Now a military training camp, a closer visit is not possible. Sri Lanka is an island of waterfalls, and it is here in the higher regions that their presence is most felt. There are over 50 natural waterfalls on this tiny island, and this Ravana Falls behind me was the place where the beautiful Queen Sita was rescued from the clutches of her covetous brother-in-law. And her rescuers? Monkeys. From the hill country, there is a slow, scenic drive to the drier midland area of what is known as the cultural heart of the island. The largest city in this area is Kandy, nestled at the foothills of the hill country. It lies on the banks of the Mahaweli River. The sacred tooth of the Buddha, symbolic of the sovereignty over the island, is preserved here in its own temple. Ever since the 4th century, when Buddha's tooth was hidden from sacrilegious hands in an Orisian princess's hair, the relic has grown in repute and holiness in Sri Lanka and throughout the Buddhist world. As a tourist, one can share along with the local people the flower offering to Buddha. And, if you're lucky, you might even witness the ancient cleansing ritual carried out by the Buddhist monks prior to entering the inner sanctum of the sacred tooth relic. A visit to Sri Lanka in August will guarantee the sight of the famous Pera Hera Festival, when the Buddha's tooth is paraded around the city on the back of an elephant in what is probably Asia's biggest celebration. One of the highlights of a visit to Sri Lanka is the cultural dance in Kandy. These dancers display such amazing energy, expertise, and their costumes are vibrant and colorful. Their gymnastic abilities are quite uncanny. Watch this, it's pretty hot stuff. The Sri Lankans are skilled craftsmen, and nowhere is there such a variety of artifacts, both in shape, size, and texture, as is found in Kandy. I had you fooled there, didn't I? I just love playing here. This is the Mask Museum. I love coming here and looking at all the different masks of Sri Lanka. It's very definitely an integral part of their life and has been for thousands of years. I mean, just look at this mask. This is the mask worn by the medicine man to drive out the demons in people. And here, over here, we have this very awesome looking fellow. He is the devil dancing mask. And one of my most favorite masks that I found very interesting. It reflects the ancient Greek theatre. I thought they're really rather marvelous. Here's another one over here. Over here we have a mock-up of the exorcism ceremony. And if you look in the corner over there, you'll see the patient not looking very pleased with himself. And this chap over here, he lives in the cemetery. Right up until the 19th century, Sri Lanka had its own king and queen. And this tableau here depicts the king in all his grandeur with his queen sitting next to him. These two here are the lion dancers that were there to entertain the monarchy. A little bit like a court jester, I suppose. A fun way to shop in Kandy, a city which for many is the sweetest on the island, is by tuk-tuk.
Fruit
Yes, this is a nice place to stop. Thank you. Okay, stop. Thank you. The home is 50. Let me give you something. How much do I owe you? Hey? This is so exciting. It's Kandy Market. It's buzzing with color, with activity, and the most incredible part of this market is their fruit stalls. You just look at it, it's beautiful. In Sri Lanka, they have 14 different varieties of bananas. Look at these, red plantains, and I promise you, they are absolutely delicious. Look at that. They also have 18 different kinds of mangoes, but I want to introduce you to a fruit with a namesake, mangosteen. Oh, one's been opened already. These taste, I cannot even describe the taste. Would you believe, wood apples. Inside, you get this mushy brown stuff that tastes wonderful. They actually make juice out of wood apples. It tastes very much like the apple juice that we're used to. Dambus. This little fruit has got the most beautiful color, and they taste tart and refreshing on a hot day. These are super. Have a dambu. big dambush, olives. And now for the pièce de résistance, soursop. This fruit makes the most marvelous mousse, and you can drink it. They make wonderful juice out of it. See if I can show you a bit of it here. There we are. Filled with these, look at that. And little black seeds that you just spit out once you've sucked the juice out of this wonderful indigenous Sri Lankan fruit, soursop. Cheers. From the many varieties of fruit on the island to the exotic aromas of the Sri Lankan spice gardens. I'm in Paradise Spice Factory, just outside Kandy. This is a Garden of Eden. I'm surrounded by spices of every kind. You name it, it's here. Cinnamon, cardamom, lemongrass, saffron, turmeric, vanilla, which is like an orchid. And here I have selected two very Sri Lankan fruits, as they call them. This is jackfruit. And I really don't know why they call it a fruit, because it isn't a fruit at all. It actually grows off the bark of a tree. And it tastes like sugar beans and saffron. It's really delicious. And then you're supposed to eat a little bit of coconut with it, they suggest. They're right. This is a breadfruit, which is typically Sri Lankan. And this tastes like a cross between chestnuts and sweet potatoes. I am in paradise. It's like the Garden of Eden. But I wonder where Adam is. It's the wide variety of spices that gives Sri Lankan food their subtle, mouth-watering flavor. The food here is prepared in the most delicate flavor, cooked in coconut milk, lime juice. The variety of vegetables is quite superb. There's something here to tempt every palate. If I could quote Floyd, tongue-in-cheek, it's a gastronomic delight. A novel way of exploring the island is on the back of an elephant. Bareback for the more adventurous, followed by a rewarding scrub down with a coconut husk. Or safari-like through thick jungle and crocodile-infested rivers for a real wildlife experience. Just outside Kandy is the internationally renowned elephant orphanage. Here, abandoned baby elephants are reared to adulthood. Oh. Well, this little chap wouldn't accept that his bottle was finished. Oh, finished. Finished. It's finished. No more. Little guts. Oh, he wants the teat. Polnarua was and still is a garden city. It boasts ruins of gigantic royal palaces and sumptuously decorated conference rooms, as well as large stupas and sacred temples. This circular monument is perhaps the oldest in Polnarua. The moonstone on the second flight of steps is remarkably well preserved. 4 Buddha statues face outwards to the cardinal points, their backs to the central stupa. One of the spectacular sights at Polnarua are these giant Buddhas carved out of stone. I'm standing in 12th century AD in the ancient city of Polnarua, the reclining Buddha resting peacefully in the sunshine. In fact, if I close my eyes, I can almost hear the sound of the workmen chipping away at the living rock. It is quite incredible when you consider that such an amazingly advanced culture was in existence when the rest of the world was going through its dark ages. Nothing, however, captures the imagination more than Sigiriya, the fortress built 15 centuries ago on top of a huge 200-meter-high granite rock, as a place of refuge for a Sinhalese king who killed his father and usurped the throne from his brother. I'm halfway up Sigiriya Rock, which dates back to 5th century AD, the fortress of King Kasyapa. I'm on my way up the spiral staircase now to go and look at the cloud maidens or the frescoes. There are 18 remaining, 18 of which are in very good condition. This is not for the faint-hearted, believe me, but I'm going to make it to the top. Just look at my... Many believe that this group of sensual maidens, who have delighted many a visitor over the centuries, were in fact the king's concubines. From this unusual cave-like gallery, the corridor upwards clings to the side of the rock as it winds its way round to the main entrance of the citadel, a staircase which rises between the paws of a lion. The last flight of steps are particularly steep, but once at the top of the 360-degree view that this visionary king must have enjoyed makes it well worth it. Salvaged plans have revealed that here was once a magnificent sky palace with pools, gardens, running water and irrigation systems. Sigiriya, like Masada, is a true feat of human endurance and vision. It is this rich tapestry of ancient culture and legend that transports the traveler into another era. It is also the varied landscape, the bright colors of the gems and the fruitfulness of this demi-paradise, with its amazing array of colorful fauna and flora and diverse experiences that leave a lasting impression on anyone who ventures forth. Ah, yes, she is indeed a resplendent land. And though I may leave her with a full and happy heart, she will always keep a part of me here, behind on this beautiful paradise island. Bohomistuti. Thank you, Sri Lanka.